Section YY8 podcast is back on the air. I'm Negative Niece. That's Harb. For those listening, you can't see us if you're listening, but Harb is here. I'm here. We're probably not on our A games, are we, Harb? After yesterday,
Getting there.
long
Getting there.
tail, long tailgate
Yeah.
yesterday.
The detox has commenced.
Yes,
I
yeah.
believe.
I went to eat dinner with Reagan tonight, and we both said the cleanse starts tomorrow. Might
Yeah.
be a week long cleanse.
Yeah,
Um,
it's gonna be a minute.
Holiday weekend and tailgating yesterday. A lot of bad crap put into the system this week.
It's a long few days. It's time to get back on track.
Yeah. Well, that's what the holidays are for, right?
Maybe we're lactose intolerant.
It might be.
With
That's
the chocolate milks, we may be
yeah.
lactose
It
intolerant.
there was some different types of chocolate milk. Whole chocolate milk and 2%, 1%.
We might need to get on the skim.
Yeah, yeah. Or as my granddaddy used to call it, oh gosh, what was that? Johnny Blue. He called it Blue Johnny, which was basically skim milk. He just called it was basically water. So he'd say, "Oh, he's drinking that Blue Johnny milk." Only my family would understand that joke. But anyways, we're back here. Thanksgiving holiday is a Sunday night. So it's almost officially over. Back to the real world for a few weeks and until Christmas, but. Lot to get into here on this week's show. Terrible loss yesterday by the Vols to Vanderbilt. We'll get into that. We'll talk about what this means for Tennessee going forward as a program. A lot of questions that need to be answered within the program. Coaching carousels going on here on Sunday around the conference. Oh well, around the country to be honest, but really. Um, really went in full effect this morning and this afternoon around the Southeastern Conference. So we'll look at that. Tennessee basketball, we need to talk about that, Harb. They had a interesting week last week out in Vegas with a couple wins and a loss. We'll talk about that. And they've got some big games going forward. But we'll and our final SEC power rankings of the season. The SEC season's over. Georgia and Bama in the title game. So whoopee again. So we'll dig into that. Harb, rough night last night for the Vols. 45-24 losers to Vandy. First time we've lost to Vandy since at home since 2017. Um, honestly, emotions were high last night after the game, and it was just the more I sit back and think about it, we were, talking to different people this morning and today. Um, it's an embarrassing loss by Tennessee, and I kept using the word glaring, and we'll get into what this means for Tennessee football moving forward. But Vandy, I know we forced two turnovers on pretty good plays. I don't want to discredit what Ty Redmond did. Great coverage. Feel like that kid's gotten better as the years gone along, but honestly, Vandy did whatever they wanted on both sides of the football last night to Tennessee. I know we had some moments with some scores early in the game there in the first half, but got outscored 24-3 in the second half, got pushed around. Just a disappointing night, disappointing effort from Tennessee. Um, we'll talk about what it means in a minute, but just thoughts on last night's game, Harb. It was bad, just not good.
Yeah, it's pitiful. It's really the only it's really the only terminology I can use. Um, just that is a performance that gets a defensive coordinator fired. And for those of you that listen to each of our shows, we appreciate y'all, by the way.
Yes.
Um, I was kind of semi defending Tim Banks throughout the year. I'm not anymore. I'm just not. Which credit to Vanderbilt. I think that offensive line's a lot better than it gets credit for. They run for 316 yards on us. I don't give a shit if they've got the 90s Nebraska offensive line. That should never happen here,
Mm-mm.
ever. Pavia had 160 of those, which I'll get a little bit more into that here in a second. But it's a rivalry game, in-state rivalry. It's your final home game of the year. I stupidly thought that we had enough positive momentum from the Florida game to win this past weekend, and I was wrong. And it sucks, is what it is. But I mean, you let Vandy come in here and you don't force a single punt, not a single one, niece.
None.
You get two turnovers and you're tied at halftime. And we didn't turn the ball over. Or at least the first half we didn't. I can't remember if we did in the second half or not. I don't think we did.
I don't think so.
Maybe on downs very late in the game. But yeah, that's the worst game we played all year. You lost that game at halftime. I hope you know that. Letting them double dip when you had a chance to go up two scores on them. You had a chance to go up two scores and or at worst case scenario, it's 21-17, but on it was third and what 16 or 17 with under 20 seconds left. Corner blitz, roughing the passer, gets them down to what the four.
Mm.
They score two plays later, I think, and then they just absolutely bully you in an 8-minute drive to start the third quarter, and all of a sudden they're up seven, and all life was sucked out of that building. It was that it was second half, and there was not fun. And he scored 3 points. Just went out sad. Just went out sad. I mean, I don't know why they threw the ball at all in the second half. I wouldn't have. Like, we had zero chance of stopping the run. Didn't really have much chance of stopping the pass either, if we're being 1,000% honest here.
Yeah.
Wasn't Colton Hood's best performance. I'll give him a little bit of grace. He's had a good year.
Mm-hmm.
But the angle he took on that one screen pass, boy, oh boy, that was brutal. Our linebackers have been underwhelming this year. We'll call it that. Um, yeah, I don't know. I think it's time. You have to make some sort of change this offseason, whether they're minor or they're major. If you're Josh Heupel, you have to change something. And if it's bare minimum, just a change of face, you got to do it. Honestly, I think best case scenario is to get two brand new coordinators or promote somebody from within from a position group maybe. Um, but yeah, I think this was Banks' swan song.
Yeah, no, I'd been on the fence about him all year. I wasn't a huge fan of him to begin with because I mean, you look at Tennessee since Heupel's been here, they've not been very good defensively. The outlier was last year where they were one of the best defensive teams in the country. I think a lot of that had to go back to the front four last year. I mean, they got pressure on quarterbacks and stopped the run on their own, and that helped the secondary and the linebackers and the backside of the defense. But Heupel said it after the game last night. The middle of Tennessee's defense this year was just not very good, and you can attribute that to youth and injuries. whatever. But the bottom line is they weren't very good, and that really showed up last night. You were talking about Pavia. He had 165 yards on the ground. They had 314 total rushing yards. They had 579 yards of total offense. Vandy did that, and there was at one point, I think it was in the second half, we got them behind the sticks. It was like second and 16 or something like that. We just gave up 12, 13 yards because we were sitting in this soft zone. And it's just a continued thing with Tim Banks. And I mean, said it all year and find somebody that loves his own like Tim Banks. I mean, I just don't get it. Um, it was just piss poor performance all the way around. I mean, they had to abandon the run in the second half because they weren't getting anything going. Had a really good first half running the football. Um, couldn't do anything with it in the second half, but they kind of just went away from it. Star Thomas was nowhere to be seen in the second half. They put Dwayne Morris in, the freshman. I guess they wanted to get him some run because Star Thomas isn't going to be here next year. But like, where was that guy at with Peyton Lewis out? Where was Star Thomas? He just nowhere to be seen. But
I
when he
don't
was
I don't
out,
know what was up with that because he was out there on every kick return,
yeah, he was out there on special teams.
and
But
they finally put him in on that final offensive drive we had.
yeah, I was curious. I don't know. I don't know what Heupel if he was asked about it after the game, but just I mean that's not the way. we- I say this all the time. If Tennessee wants to be taken serious on the in the top echelon of the SEC or even on the national stage, you got to win games like that because Vanderbilt's a perennial doormat in this conference. I understand that they're better this year. You can attribute that to the transfer portal. They've got a very old lineup. A lot of upperclassmen, a lot of experience. And you look at Tennessee, we're the total opposite. We talked about that last week, but we're still Tennessee and they're still Vanderbilt. And the way they pushed us around and bullied us is what we always do to them. And it was like a complete mind shift um, that was going on last night. And you could see it. Those guys, it just looked like they wanted it more. I'm not saying Tennessee didn't try, coaches and players, but um, you just can't go out like that and finish your season if you want any momentum. You talked about it. You thought it was a more important game for Tennessee than Vanderbilt from the standpoint of momentum going into the offseason. You got a good recruiting class coming in. You're building on with a bunch of youth. You're building toward next year, and that's gone. I mean, we're sitting here all day long talking about how bad Tennessee played. Are we going to fire coaches? Is whatever's going to go on? Where if we had won last night, 40, let's say we won 45 to 24, everybody's looking forward to a big bowl game down in Florida, and we're looking toward next year with a lot of momentum. And now we're talking about probably going to the Mayo Bowl in Charlotte, and nobody cares, and talking about wholesale staff changes and philosophy change and whatever. Um, it just really, it's going to be a long few weeks here in December. I don't know when we'll play a bowl game. I think the Mayo Bowl's on January 2nd. So um, I just it's a bummer how they let this season just kind of unfold here late in the season. I was talking to somebody today about the offensive line. I mean, they digressed as the season went on, and I don't know if that was scheme or what, but it all seemed to change when David, and it's not David Sanders' fault, I don't think. They had to play him, but when he re-entered the lineup coming back from injury and they started switching people around, the offensive line just was not the same this year. Um, but yeah, not the way you want to end a season, especially against a rival. I know we beat up on Vandy a lot in my lifetime and over the years, but I mean, you got to give them a little credit, I guess, because they went out and they played one of their better games of the year, and they're playing good football right now. I mean, they pounded Kentucky last week. They pounded us yesterday. I mean, take those two turnovers away, it could have been worse than it was.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's,
What else do you say, right?
yeah. I mean, there's nothing you can say after that. Yeah, you take the belt to your ass and then you nod and you keep it moving. And that absolutely pains me to say out loud. That's where we're at. And it was just it was the worst game all year in just about every facet. One thing it also didn't make a ton of sense to me, which I understand the fourth quarter we were playing from behind for the most part. You had a running back with 14 carries for 95 yards and two touchdowns in the first half. And he finishes the game with, I believe, 17 carries for 98 yards.
Hmm.
That's an issue.
Yeah.
Which obviously they're going to make halftime adjustments and whatnot. But the guy's probably your best player on offense. I mean, you could kind of pick one on based on who's having a hot game and whatnot. You got to figure out how to get your guys the ball. Just point blank. I think the end of the game's a little different if Mike Matthews doesn't drop that wide open touchdown.
Yeah.
Because instead of being down a touchdown, you're down a field goal.
Yeah.
And it was a perfect play design. It's pretty much perfect throw. Just is what it
It's
is.
kind of been the story for this team this year. You think about it. I mean, go back to that Oklahoma game when Heupel and them called that play on that fourth down, and Van Dorselayer was wide open and it hit him in the helmet. He wasn't even ready or looking for the football. It's kind of the same deal. I mean, they drew up a great play. Matthews is wide open and he drops it. I mean, it's a walk-in touchdown. And it's kind of been like that all year long, just a ton of missed opportunities that they couldn't capitalize on. Um, but that's the difference in good football teams and mid football teams. And that let's just call it what we are. Tennessee was 8-4 and they were 4-4 in the conference. And we'll do our rankings later, but they're mid. They're just middle of the pack SEC, which is disappointing. And we'll kind of transition in here to what this looks like for Tennessee going forward. I mean, they're just middle of the pack SEC, and we're in year 5 of the Josh Heupel regime. And I was talking to, I can't remember who it was earlier today, but it's like we're in year 5, and this is like year number 3 of a rebuilding process. It feels like. I know Day Day said earlier today in a text message, we had a veteran team last year. We went to the playoffs 10-2. I get that, but it still felt like we weren't there yet. You had a freshman quarterback in Nico, really good running back in Sampson, and you were going to have all these young receivers back, and of course Nico left. But it was like, okay, we went 10-2 this year. We can build on that and take another step forward next year. And of course Nico left, and then Boo Carter fiasco didn't help. And it's kind of like we're right now, Harb. We're just kind of stuck in this. It's like we're stuck in third or fourth gear and we can't get up to fifth gear. And that's what my question is it coaching changes? Is it philosophy changes? Is it scheme changes? Now, I was listening to another podcast. They talked about, do they need to take a look at their strength and conditioning program? Just everything. Um, something is we've talked about it on here, like what does Tennessee need to do to take that next step? And it was even more glaring last night that we're in year 5 and we're still sitting here trying to figure out how to take that next step. And I'm not sitting here calling for Josh Heupel to be fired or leave, but this is a huge off season for him and this football program because things could turn sour in a hurry. And that's the world of college football right now. But I mean, think about this. We're 8-4 this year. If, something happens with the recruiting class and something, falls apart, or they don't hit the transfer portal and do a good job there, and they don't make any changes and things just kind of stay status quo with that schedule next year, if you don't put it together, I mean, you're staring at a 6-6 season easily because that schedule is pretty rough next year. I know there's some of these teams are going to have new coaches and all that stuff, but that's it kind of feels like we're on a at the tipping point here a little bit. Like, where does this football program go from here? Do they find a, and I'm sure they'll try. I can't imagine they wouldn't, but something has got to change, and I don't know what that answer is, but something's got to change this offseason to get this program out of third or fourth gear, whatever you want to call it, and get it ramped up because it's time to make that next step. And this program, you go look back at 21, they made a step, 22, they made a huge step. 23, we all knew there was going to be a little fall off, but they still had a decent season. And then last year with Nico coming in, you're like, all right, this is year one of the next step. Like, this is where we go. This is how we get to that next level. And then it didn't work out because of player changes and all that stuff. And here we are again. Like, we're going to have a new quarterback more than likely next year. What do we do? Like, where do we go here? Or, like, I don't know if you have the answers or not, but I don't know.
I do know one thing Heupel has to do, and I'm fairly certain I just kind of hinted at this a few minutes ago. You have to change some guys in that room. You have to, especially with Aguilar in the post game presser talking about how they got to hit practice harder. That don't sound good. That might be like one of those things you just say after you get your teeth kicked in, like, oh well, we didn't prepare enough, whatever. It didn't sound like that though, and I do know people will be much more irritated with Heupel if he doesn't change some guys around him. Because if you go into next year with the same exact staff and the same exact mentality and the same exact game plan, that tells you, or that tells us, that you are perfectly content with going 8-4 and getting your damn teeth kicked in at home by Vanderbilt.
It's either that or he's stubborn.
I'm fine with stubborn, but when you get your ass kicked, stubborn don't do you no good.
Nope.
And I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's a control issue or if he has zero trust in Joey Halsey. He's trying to do everything. He probably is stubborn. Hell, most head coaches are. It's not a bad
You
thing.
got to have a little of that in you as a head
Yeah,
coach.
that's not a bad thing. But you have to delegate roles. Like if you want to call the plays, let somebody else do the game and clock management. Or if you want to do the game and clock management and improve that aspect, let somebody call the plays. Like somebody you trust that knows the offense, that is pretty much going to do mostly what you want to be done. Do that. Like there's just some things that need to change. And on paper, the offense doesn't really need to change much because I think we're still going to finish with a top 10 scoring offense in the country.
Yeah.
So on paper, it's not that glaring, but if you watch the games, it is. You know, and yeah, there's got to be some turnover here. Um, do you let's say we do
Do do.
let's say we do the smart thing, or what we think is the smart thing, and move on from Tim Banks. Do you promote somebody from within, like maybe Ronnie Garner? Does he even want to do it, or does he just want to stay with the dogs up front? Do you go get a up and coming guy from another school? I saw a theory. I think this is just Twitter talk. Do you call a guy that's been here and was an absolute dog on defense that has coaching experience like Gerard Mayo? Does he say thanks but no thanks? You losers.
I mean,
Uh,
look at he was here under a different regime, but Justin Wilcox was fired at Cal, and he was a pretty good defensive coordinator, by all measures. I don't know if he still wants to be a head coach, but I mean, is that a route you go? I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know what the answer is, but I just think the Tim Banks experiment is not working out. Like, there's too much of a track record here. I don't think we want. I don't think we necessarily even need Tennessee to be a top 20 defense.
they got to be top 100.
Yeah, but Big Montana says it all the time is hold them under 30, and there's that's not too far off, but I think you need to be better than holding them under 30. But it just seems at times that we get in ruts where we just can't get off the field, and they give it. Yesterday was bad because of all the splash plays they gave up. That was what stinks about this defense right now. Um, and about this has been a problem over the years with Tim Banks' defense here at Tennessee. Too many big splash plays. Can't get off the field on third down. The joke going around, it used to be when Chavis was here, it was third and Chavis. Now it's third and Banks. I mean, I just have no confidence of this team getting off the field on third down with the current setup. But I was looking at the schedule early today, Harb. I'm sure everybody has noticed this or seen this, but look at our wins this year. Syracuse, 3-9. ETSU, I don't know what they were. UAB, let's see what UAB was this year. Not good. They fired Trent Dilfer in the middle of the season. They went 4-8. Mississippi State 5-7. Arkansas 2-10. Kentucky 5-7. New Mexico State, I don't know what when we beat them, they were 3-6. I can't imagine they won anymore. Florida 4-8. I mean, that was our wins this year. Like, usually in the past under Heupel, you've been able to hang your hat on. They're going to beat everybody at home. They're going to upset somebody they probably shouldn't at home. That didn't happen this year. We lost what, 3 games in Neyland? OU, Georgia, and Vandy. That's just not acceptable at this university or this with that stadium. It's just not. I didn't beat a ranked team all year long. Um,
Well, no shit, we didn't beat a ranked team. We beat a bowl eligible team.
yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just. I think Day Day said it. Like 8-4 was always a possibility. It's just how we got to 8-4 this year.
Mm-hmm.
You and I.
Yeah, because I mean, we're sitting here and you pissed away the Georgia and Oklahoma games. Let's say you win those two. Like, everybody wants to blame the Georgia game on Max Gilbert. I'm not one of those guys, but let's say that kick goes in. And then you take one of the 17 opportunities you had against Oklahoma. It's a 10-2 team that's probably out of the playoffs because you lose by 3 touchdowns to Vandy at the end of the year. But yeah, like, you, you've definitely got better wins than Vandy. And it's really a matter of like 3 plays going your way. We'll call it a handful. But guess what? It's what we talked about when we talked about Mike Matthews dropping that touchdown. It comes down to execution, and we didn't. And the highlight of our season was snapping the streak in the swamp to one of Florida's worst teams ever.
What do you think our best win was this year? That's a relatively speaking terms.
As far as talent goes, like talent versus talent, it's got to be Florida. But it's Florida, Mississippi State, and then Kentucky.
I was going to say Mississippi State just because but they had to go to overtime. Listener of the show, Nick Bernard and I were talking this morning. You were talking about we could have went 10-2, but he made a good point. We could have went 6-6 pretty easily. Say that Mississippi State game goes different. That's 7-5. Say that
Right.
Arkansas game, it got close there at the end. Say we slipped up and something happened and fumbled that game away. That, I mean, you could look at it both ways, right? But I mean, it was like we were right there on the edge of being worse.
Yeah.
But I
You
mean,
know what's weird about this team? And it's unlike any Josh Heupel team at UT. We lost one road game.
yeah, that's crazy, isn't it?
And this is probably the most disappointing year, in my opinion, of the entire regime.
It has to be.
First year we had zero expectations. What do we go, 7-5?
Yeah, 7-6 with the bowl. Yes,
Yeah.
lost to Purdue.
Then obviously year two was awesome. Year three, everybody knew there was going to be some setbacks. Nobody was really upset. That was a quote unquote filler year at the time, like in between. And then last year, it is so funny with that quarterback play we had last year that you go 10-2 and make the playoff. Everybody was happy, you know. You get curb stomped by Ohio State, but they curb stomped everybody. And then you're here. And
Yeah.
I don't think his team's bad. They're not. They're not a bad football team. I also don't think they're good.
I mean, if you look around
We're
the,
extremely mid. We beat the teams we were supposed to, and we lost to the teams that were better than
I
us.
mean, look at the SEC standings right here. Tennessee would beat Arkansas, South Carolina. They beat Mississippi State. I think they would beat Auburn more than likely. They beat Florida. They beat Kentucky. They would probably beat LSU, and there it's all teams behind them. But look in front of them. They lost to Alabama, lost to Georgia. Would they beat Ole Miss? Probably not. Would they beat Texas A&M or Texas right now? No. Lost to Oklahoma, lost to Vandy. Would they beat Missouri? It would probably be a top football game, back and forth.
You are
We could,
one and the same.
yeah, they're both the same. So you're right. Like we beat the teams we were supposed to, and we lost the teams we were probably supposed to lose to, but we could have won a couple of those games. That's life in the SEC. I mean, you take Tennessee out of the SEC and put them in another conference, they're probably not 8-4. They're probably 9-3, 10-2 at worst.
And as of today, you now have Lane Kiffin and Alex Golish coming to Knoxville next year.
We'll get to Kiffin here in a minute, but I was looking at LSU's schedule, and
They
LSU
play
has to
at
go
Ole Miss.
to Ole Miss and to Knoxville next year.
That's
Those will
gonna be.
be those will be fun, welcoming environments for Coach Kiffin, won't they?
I think Oxford's gonna make Knoxville look like a children's show as far as like how Lane Kiffin gets welcomed, so to speak. It's gonna be a bloodbath in Oxford next year.
It's a dang reality show, isn't it? Harv, this conference. It's a drama soap opera.
It is. Is this a good segue to talk about the Kiffin thing?
Yeah, let's real quick, before we get into Kiffin, there was some reports, I guess you might call them. One of them was from RG West. Take it for what it's worth. But there's also some other rumblings out there that Josh Heupel and his representatives might be talking to Penn State. Um, I threw out a hypothetical question on Twitter today. If Josh Heupel were to leave Tennessee, say we wake up one morning this week and we hear that Heupel's going to Penn State. One, would we be upset? And two, who would Tennessee go get? This coaching cycle's not the best one to be in right now. One, because there's not a ton of names out there besides Kiffin that's going to be one of these big splash hires that everybody's going to want. But two, everybody's already made moves. So, and I think this job, give Heupel credit, this job is much more appealing now than it was in 2020 when we fired Pruitt and all that mess was going on. This job's a way better job now than it was 5 years ago. And credit to Heupel, Danny White, and all of them for making that happen. But I mean, if that happened, who do we even go get? That's why I don't think we would want him to go right now because who do you get? I mean, an up and comer, some low coordinator, some retread that's out there. I don't know.
Anybody that actually wants that to happen has the brain capacity of a hammer. Not like anybody that knows anything about collegiate sports and the current landscape and the shit that's happened the last few days, we'd probably go back to the dark days if Heupel goes Penn State. Because, like you said, who the hell are we gonna get?
And you can't think like that if you have to make a change. You can't not make a change or worry about somebody leaving just because you're afraid of who's not out there.
My
I
point
mean,
is, we should not want him.
right. But you right. Oh, you're
It's
exactly
not
right.
just because there's not really that many people out there to go get. It's because we still have a good football coach. There's just things that need to improve going into year six. It,
You're
it's like
right.
it's like the analogy I made after the Oklahoma game. Like I'm sure you've gotten spitting mad at your dad or your best friends or a girlfriend or whoever. I mean, just absolutely mattering hell at them. Can't even look at them. That doesn't mean you don't want them to be in your life ever again. Yeah, it's healthy to get pissed off at your favorite team's football coach. It also doesn't mean that you want to run them out of town and burn every bridge. It's dumb as shit. It's not always going to be flowers all the time. You can love somebody and get pissed off at them every once in a while. That's all I'm saying. And I think that's what a lot of these people on social media are doing. They're upset, and just let them air it out. They'll be fine. But yeah, it might be time to kind of sit at the kitchen table, be like, all right, I want to work this out. What we need to do?
Yeah, and I have faith that Josh Heupel will do that. I mean, it's yet to be seen because he's not really gone through that here yet. Where he's at kind of, I don't want to call it a crossroads, but I mean, it's kind of a fork in the road here. What do we do to take that? We've asked it on here. We had an episode a few weeks ago, like, what does Tennessee need to do to take that next step? And that question is sitting right in front, priority number one on Josh Heupel's offseason agenda, besides finalizing this really good recruiting class. I think it's going to be top 10, hopefully. Pretty good skill players coming in, quarterback leading the way. Got to finish that and hit that portal. But other than that, the big question is what do we got to do inside the house? Is that again coaching staff changes? Is it um, philosophy, scheme? I don't know. I think all those questions should be on the table, and I'm confident and hopeful that's what's going to happen. If it stays status quo and nothing really changes this offseason, I'm going to have a lot of questions. And again, I'm not, you know, saying right now that we need to get rid of Heupel or anything like that. I'm not saying that. I like Josh Heupel. I
I
think
would
he's a good,
rather I would rather we make a couple changes and they be the wrong move as opposed to do nothing.
yeah.
So I was going to bring this up earlier when we were talking about Vandy. If you're going to go 8-4, personally for you, if you're going to go 8-4, would you rather see your team play like they're scared of losing the fifth game or like they're trying like hell to win the ninth game?
Trying like hell.
Like, go down swinging. Like that's the way I look at it. And I don't know. It's like which you can't criticize the Florida game at all, really. But it's like when we're playing good, we try so hard to be perfect. Be like, oh, well, we can't do this because we might mess it up. Like hell, like when you get some momentum, go for it. And when things aren't going your way, try to make your own momentum. That's just the frustrations I have watching this team sometimes.
I want Tennessee, and my final thought on this going forward, I want Tennessee to get that edge back. I mean, even in 2021, when we went 7-6, they had that. Remember that South Carolina game where we just came out and just blew the doors off of them? And that was that great Shane Beamer meme when they're down 30, was it 35-0 or 28-0, and they made a stop and he's like pumped up on the sidelines. But I mean, we had an edge about us even in losing that year. And then obviously in 2022, they had a big edge about them, big plays, kind of was wide open in their philosophy and play calling. And that's just not been around the last 2 or 3 seasons. It's been more of a conservative, let's not make a mistake type deal. And I wish we could get back. It just seems like it's anti Josh Heupel. Chad Grubb, listener of the show, made a good point. He feels like that Heupel's he's trying to figure out how to win with this warp speed offense. Because let's face it, teams with this warp speed offense just don't win titles all that often. I mean, you look at the pace of play for teams that win the national title, and it's kind of middle of the pack, kind of, middle of the country type. But I don't disagree with Chad that it's tough because you look at that Florida game and they came out balls of the walls and went up 31-0 at the half and just kind of put it on cruise control in the second half, which they could. Um, but that's just not the way Josh Heupel. I think he's trying to grow as a coach, and he's got to figure that out. But I wish we could get that edge back. I just don't feel like we have that edge like we did those first 2 years anymore. Um,
I'll say
it,
it. I'll say what you're wanting to say.
what's that?
I don't think we're very tough.
That's pretty much what I was getting at.
I don't think we are. And the toughest dudes on the team are the D line. Look at who coaches them.
The best defensive line coach in America.
Yeah, and I think we can be at times, but we did it more last year. And the further we get away from last year, that year gets so much funnier when you think about it. Like we kind of asserted physicality last year. This year, we didn't assert physicality at all. And depending on the game, when you got met with physicality, you either responded or you didn't. And it was almost like, which I know this isn't it, but it's almost just like how these guys got out of bed in the morning. Like, like the Georgia game, hell, we punched them right back. Hell of a game. Oklahoma comes to town and they whipped our ass physically. We still should have won that game, but physically
Yeah.
they just beat us up. Uh, but yeah, I think that's got a lot to do with it. I don't know if that's strength and conditioning or if that's a mentality thing. That's something that I would like to see improve. I think a lot of people would potentially agree with me on that.
No, I don't disagree with that. I mean, you're right. It's a toughness and an edge thing, and they just, for whatever reason, didn't have it this year.
I want to see some attitude. Like Boo Carter needed to go. Like, see ya. I'm glad that happened. But if you can get a few guys like with his mindset, but are also not a total head case, which is pretty rare, but they exist. I think that's perfect. It's kind of like I'm sure you've seen it back in the early 2000s when Ed Reed was at Miami and they were about to go out on the field. I think they were about to play Florida State, and he was hollering in the tunnel. And he
Yeah,
says, "I want you to look at the man next to you and tell him that I am the baddest MFer you know, and then the whole tunnel screams it back. You just need some of that. I don't know. It's probably easier said than done, and I probably sound stupid because I'm nowhere near that locker room. But I think that's a start.
Wouldn't hurt. It definitely doesn't hurt.
Oh,
Before we get into the power rankings, very quickly, Harb, our old friend Lane Kiffin has decided to leave Ole Miss and go to LSU. What do you think about that?
I had so much fun keeping up with that today at work.
It was good.
It was so good. Ole Miss,
Do you think Marty Smith has taken a shower the last couple days? He's just been camping out waiting to hear.
no, it's the hardest working man in the Southeast. Um, Ole Miss's AD is a dude. I will give him credit on a lot of this. So apparently the meeting was it last night or I guess Saturday night.
Yeah, I think it was Saturday night.
Kiffin met with the AD. Things got real nasty. Kiffin asked to coach the playoff, even if he's taking the LSU job. And AD's or Ole Miss's AD. I don't know his name. Can you look that up?
Keith something.
Anyway, Mr. Keith uh, said, "No, dumbass." Essentially, like you can coach them if you're going to be here. Like if you're not going to be here, go on and get it, which is the correct answer. And then Kiffin threatens to be like, "Hey, well, if you don't let me coach, I'm going to gut your roster and take them all to LSU. That way you get embarrassed in the playoff," which is a little wild. I don't really know what the exact end goal there was.
He claims that he didn't do that, but we all know
That
Lane.
was the report allegedly.
Hmm.
Also, he told every single offensive assistant on the team, if you're coming with me to Baton Rouge, get on this plane. Because if you don't, there won't be a spot for you after that.
He told Marty Smith he did not say that, but look, we all know Lane.
They may not said it that word for word. No way, it gave him a little bit of a loophole.
Yeah.
But Ole Miss's AD responds with, "Hey, for every single offensive assistant on the team, if you stay at Ole Miss, your salary will be doubled." That's just letting your nuts hang. Yeah, like that's just and them promoting their DC that quickly. That was a stop the bleeding moment. Trying to keep as many players as possible, as many coaches as possible, is probably the right move. Uh, it was fairly similar, which this got a lot more nasty than Vitello going to the Giants, but it was kind of similar to promoting Nylander. Like you want to keep as much momentum as possible, kind of keep that nucleus together. Um, but yeah, it, Lane, I don't know why he left. Personally, I don't. I think there's a lot of people. It's probably split 50-50. The appeal of going to LSU is there. It's one of the, in my opinion, top 3 or 4 states for recruiting in football, and you have zero in-state competition. You got Tulane, their coach just went to Florida. You got Louisiana Tech. Correct me if I'm wrong. Terry Bradshaw's not still there.
He's not.
Okay, gotcha. Then you got the Raging Cajuns. Whoop de doo. Yeah, you just throw a fence up in
Yeah.
Louisiana, you've automatically got a top 10 recruiting class. But at Ole Miss, he could stay there and kind of wipe the slate clean, be like, hey, this guy actually grew up. He got his stuff together. He's really good to us. Sorry he hurt y'all, but that's not our problem. You win, you ain't even got to win a national championship. If you just average 10.5 wins a year. They're building you a statue, naming roads after you. You're the man. And if you bring, and let's be honest, if you bring one national championship to Ole Miss, it's worth at least three at LSU, in my opinion. There's times are changing, but historically, you ain't gonna win a national championship at Ole Miss. And then here they are, not in the SEC championship game because of a tiebreaker. I don't know. It's a lot easier when to. It's a lot easier to criticize when you're not in the situation, but I don't know why he left. Outside the fact that he's Lane Kiffin.
This is the first time in this new era of college football, the expanded playoff era, that this has happened. I mean, coach Ole Miss is definitely in the playoffs, probably poised to host a game, and he left. It's and they can't wait because of when the recruiting cycle goes on, and it's not like the NFL where they can wait till the off season and the drafts afterwards, free agencies afterwards. Like this stuff's going on this week. And so this is the first time we've seen this. I don't think it'll be the last. But speaking of,
You know they're going to be very good, right?
yeah,
Also, there's a report that there's a high likelihood that LSU's current defensive coordinator stays to coach with Lane. And if that's true, oh boy. By the way, they
yeah,
come to Knoxville next year.
yeah,
So I'm sure you know that. And so does Alex Gullish, who accepted the Auburn job today after there were reports that he was going to be Arkansas's next head coach.
yeah, yeah. Friday, was it Friday it came out or Wednesday or something that he was going to be at Arkansas, but then they ended up hiring Mississippi or Memphis State's head coach. And
Well, Golish went to Auburn first. Memphis's coach was playing C or D because they tried to get James Franklin. They thought they were going to
yeah,
and weren't. But I fell into some Arkansas fans' posts earlier. Allegedly, Arkansas offered Golish $7 million a year, and the offer he got from Auburn was 7.5. I can't imagine he'd back out last minute for 500 grand a year. Auburn's just a better job than Arkansas is.
oh, definitely.
Just point blank. I think that's got. I think Arkansas could have offered him more money, and he would have still went to Auburn. In my personal opinion.
It's a much better job than Arkansas.
Yeah. The Iron Bowl is gonna be fun.
Yeah. One thing I worry about before we move on about Golish is, does he take Rodney Garner, or does he go come get Rodney Garner? Because Rodney Garner's an Auburn guy. Something to keep your eye on. I don't want to lose. I hope Heupel does whatever he can to keep Rodney Garner because I mean, he's putting guys in the league. We usually have a pretty good defensive front four, and that's his area, and he's one of the best ones in the country. So we don't need to lose him. I mean, we talked about staff changes. That's one I don't want to change. Is Rodney Gardner. He needs to stay, and they need to do whatever they can to keep him. Um, SEC power rankings, the final one of the year, Harb. I'll go ahead and do mine real quick. Not a lot to talk about here at the bottom. I got Kentucky at 16, Arkansas at 15, South Carolina at 14. All three of those teams lost this weekend. Kentucky got blown out by Louisville. Arkansas lost a tough one to Missouri, and South Carolina got blown out by a middling Clemson team. Florida at 13, nice way to finish the season for them. They beat a floundering Florida State team and kind of dominated them, embarrassed them a little bit there in the swamp. I got Mississippi State at 12. They lost well, they kind of got blown out a little by Ole Miss there in the Egg Bowl. It was tight for a little bit. Auburn at 11. They took Bama to the wire in the Iron Bowl, but you kind of knew that was going to happen. Tough game. LSU at 10 ended up losing in a tough one to Oklahoma. Led for quite a bit of that game. Missouri at 9 beat Arkansas. We're talking about these next two teams. They're one and the same. We mentioned it earlier. I got Missouri at 9, Tennessee at 8. They both went 8-4. lost games they probably should have lost and won games they probably should have won, but they just didn't beat anybody worth a crap. I mean, neither one of them did. And that's why they're at 8 and 9. You could interchange them. I was sitting here before we recorded, putting mine together, and I was like, I could put Missouri at 8 and Tennessee at 9. Who cares? I mean, I don't think it matters. They're 8A and 8B, I guess. But I've got Missouri 9, Tennessee at 8, Texas at 7. They've moved up here. They're playing a lot better football lately. Honestly, wanted to move them higher, but I kept Oklahoma at 6. They tumbled down a little bit. They're really good defensively. They are struggling offensively right now. Um, I don't know who they'll play in the playoffs. They're definitely in. But that's a team to watch. If they get somebody that's not very good offensively, they could win and advance. I don't think they'll go very far because of their offense, but defensively, they're pretty tough. Um, but you can win games that way, but you need a little bit better offense than what they're putting out on the field right now. I kept Vandy at 5. Um, yeah, first time they've ever won 10 games in a season, but they're still on the outside looking in, to get in the playoffs. I could have moved them up another spot, but I dropped Texas A&M. They've been in my number one spot for several weeks. I dropped them to 4 and moved Ole Miss up to 3. I think A&M's probably better than Ole Miss, but A&M's luck caught up with them a little bit here late. They probably should have lost to South Carolina a couple weeks ago and found a way to come back, but they did not play very good football against Texas. I mean, Texas hadn't been able to run the football all year long, and they ran all over Texas A&M Saturday, or what was that, Friday night. And Texas A&M's got a really good defense, and Texas just kind of did what they wanted. And then the old the old guard's still there. Bama at 2, Georgia at 1, and they're playing for the title game, playing for the title once again. Um, Georgia just kind of steady Eddie all year long, got better, and did what they needed to do. And that's my final power rankings of the year, Hard. What do you got?
They're very similar to yours. Uh, the the bottom 10 teams are the same, different order, and the top 6 are the same, different order. Uh, I've got South Carolina at 16. I think they finished the year as the worst team in the league. They're bad. 15. Well, in 15, I've got Arkansas. I think I've got an idea for bowl season. Since bowls don't matter, I think you should take some of the worst teams in Power Four and have them play against each other. Maybe for
Yeah,
like maybe for like a little NIL chunk. Like here, please God, get a little bit better. Um,
kind of
14,
like the last place game in your fantasy league, right?
pretty much, yeah. We'll play for a little prize. Be like, go get a third string linebacker. Uh, 14 Kentucky, 13 Mississippi State, 12 Florida, 11 Auburn. They choked that game. Did you watch that final drive?
Yes.
My God, that was awful.
Yeah. What in the world?
And then they get the ball back, and they muff the punt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which shout out to Kalen DeBoer when the game was tied. And it was 4th and 2, I think, on like the 4.
Hmm.
Said hell with it and went for it on the road.
Yeah.
Hats off to DeBoer. Uh, 10, I've got LSU. They look pretty decent against Oklahoma. That team's going to look 1,000 times different next year. Whether they're better or not, they're going to look different. And then 9, I've got Missouri. 8, Tennessee. Like you said, I literally flipped them. Neither one of these teams are very exciting. They're not bad. They're not very good. That's why in a 16 team field they're the 8-9 matchup.
Hmm.
Pretty good
Yeah.
spot for them. 7, I've got Texas. They started playing better down the stretch. 6, I have Ole Miss, and for the sole fact of where they go from here. Uh, do they get a boost, like a chip on their shoulder boost, or do they fold? If I had to put a lot of money on it, I'd probably say fold, but you never know. But they're at 6 just for uncertainty purposes. 5, I've got Vandy. I think Vandy might be better than Ole Miss. But like I said, there's a lot going on there. 4, I've got Oklahoma. Offense is on a little bit of the struggle bus, but that front 7 is nasty. And that, if you can't score on somebody, it's really hard to beat them. And that's why I've got them at high. 3, A&M. They finally lost. What's funny is, do you think we would be 11-1 with A&M schedule? Well, no, we would have lost to Notre Dame.
No, we would have lost to Notre Dame.
But every single team they beat in conference play finished below Tennessee in the standings. I think they beat Mississippi State, Florida, Auburn, LSU, Arkansas, lost to Texas. I do think A&M's good,
Mm-hmm.
and I would go as far to say I think they're very good. But you're gonna have to beat a good team in the playoff. So jury's still out, I suppose. And then Bama 2, Georgia 1. We get to see that rematch for the millionth time. But they both earned it.
Yeah.
But there was a whole lot of one loss SEC teams and tiebreakers and whatnot. What is the tiebreaker?
You
Because
know, I don't know.
I always thought the first one was overall record. Because
I meant to look that up
you have
today.
Georgia, A&M, and Ole Miss all at 11-1 with one conference loss. I don't know. I'm sure it's probably point differential and common opponents and stuff like that. I would assume Bama got the tiebreaker over Ole Miss because they both played Georgia and Bama beat them and Ole Miss didn't. I would assume that's how that worked. But the A&M one doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Well, Georgia Georgia beat the hell out of Texas, but Bama didn't play them. I don't know. I don't know. It's confusing to me, but yeah, that's my power rankings.
Yeah.
And the SEC will have, if the committee is pretty much staying true to what they're saying, and conference championships don't really matter if you're already in. Like you can't get punished for losing a conference championship game is essentially what they're saying.
I think yes.
The SEC is going to get 5 teams in, and Vandy's going to be the one on the outside looking in.
Yeah. I just don't think their resume equals out to the rest of them. They might be better than OU, but I mean, who besides us, who's Vandy beat? I mean, Florida
Okay,
lost to Alabama.
well, here's my question to you. We try to figure out who or if quality wins outweigh quality losses. Look at Notre Dame, which a lot of people are going to be mad about Notre Dame. I think Notre Dame 1,000% is one of the best 12 teams in the country. But what's their best win? I don't think they have a great one. I know they beat USC a couple weeks ago. USC's pretty good. I don't think they're great. They're pretty good. I'm not looking at it off the top of my head, but they lost to A&M because their holder couldn't catch an extra point.
Yeah.
And on Labor Day weekend, they go down to Miami and lose by 3. But head to head clearly don't matter
No.
because you got both of them at 10-2, and Miami didn't even make the ACC championship game
No,
off
it's
the
Virginia
tiebreaker.
and Duke.
God, how does Duke get in? What they go like? Didn't they go like 8-4?
They were 7-5, I believe.
Went 7-5. But I guess they had 2 conference losses, and they got a tiebreaker against Miami.
Yeah, I haven't looked. I just saw that they were playing. Um, I just saw they were playing in the title game, and I was so it's Virginia went 7-1, Duke 6-2, Miami 6-2, Pitt 6-2, SMU 6-2, Georgia Tech 6-2. So there was one, two, three, four, 5 teams at 6-2, and somehow,
These conferences got to do a better job with the tiebreakers because probably every single team you just mentioned that had a 6-2 record is better than Duke.
let's see, Georgia Tech overall was 9-3, SMU 8-4, Pitt 8-4, Miami 10-2, Duke 7-5. I don't know what the tie. I was trying to look it up while you were talking in the SEC, and I hadn't found a good site. I need to look at that because I don't know what the tiebreakers are anymore. Honestly, I don't want to beleaguer this point. I wish they'd just do away with championship games, and if you finish one or two, great. Whoever finishes number one, even if it's a tiebreaker, you win the conference. Kind of like the old days before they had a conference title game. I know they're never going to go away from that unless they just have to, but too much money involved. But um, it is kind of wild. Like you're sitting there looking at even the SEC, you got all those one-loss teams. Like all of them have a legit gripe to be in the title game, but they're not. Some of them are probably okay with that because they get a week off, but it's also sucks because you want to win that championship. Put that on your resume. But um, speaking of resumes, Tennessee basketball, excuse me, Tennessee basketball hard had picked up a huge win last um few days ago in Vegas over Houston. They went out there for the Players Era Championship or whatever you want to call it tournament. Um, beat up on Rutgers 85-60, and then got a little revenge on Houston, the number three team in the country, 76-73, and one of the better college basketball games I've watched in a long time. I mean, both teams executed, played really well, played pretty hard. It was a fun game to watch. I hadn't been into a November basketball game in a long time. I was sitting here, got home from work, game had started, and I'm pacing around the living room yelling at the TV, Harb. And that Kansas game, Tennessee was up 12 with 15 minutes to go in the second half, and it's like they ran out of gas. I don't know if you got to watch any of it or not, but shots were coming up short. They just looked like they hit a wall. Um, but not a bad loss in the grand scheme of things. Great. I thought it was I would say a great weekend if they went 3-0, but pretty good weekend, pretty good week out there in Vegas for the Vols. They're in action on Tuesday night at the Carrier Dome or whatever that dome's called now in Syracuse. Syracuse took Houston to overtime in Vegas last week. So when you're watching that game, you're like, man, Syracuse is going to be tough opponent for the Vols next week. But then you look at Syracuse next two games. They lost to Kansas 71-60, and then Iowa State absolutely just blew the doors off of them 95-64. Um, so I mean, I don't trying to look here. Tennessee right now is a 5.5 point favorite, 70.9% chance to win. Um, Tennessee right now currently going on my analytics here, Harb. They're 13th in Ken Palm, 18th offensively, 13th defensively. They were in the top four defensively, but after that Houston and Kansas game, they tumbled a little bit. But Vols, I thought had a pretty good week out there. I mean that Houston game was fun to watch. I went back and watched it again that later that night, just to watch it. I'll probably watch it again, but Tennessee executed at a high level on both ends of the court. Bishop Boswell played his butt off, and they were doing much of the same against Kansas until the last 10, 15 minutes of the game. It's again, to me, it looked like they just hit a wall. Which you're the only other time you're going to play 3 games in 3 days like that is the SEC tournament. It's just you just don't do that in college basketball. So I don't put a whole lot of stock into that in losing that game. I mean, yeah, it'd have been nice to win and have it on your resume going forward, but oh well, you know, it is what it is. But Tennessee's got a tough schedule coming up at Syracuse Tuesday night. Um, versus Illinois on Saturday night in Nashville. Then they're off for 10 days and they come back home to play Louisville at Thompson Bowling. And then there's a couple of those bye games, Gardner Webb, South Carolina State to end the year before we turn the calendar to 26 and SEC play starts. So tough one to start SEC slate at Arkansas, who took Duke to the wire at the United Center on Thanksgiving night. So good week for the Vols, though, in my opinion.
Oh, absolutely. Just absolutely decimated Rutgers. I don't think I don't think they're very good, but anytime you win by 25 against are they Big Ten?
Yes.
Yeah. Anytime you win by 25, I mean you can't be upset. We look good too.
Rutgers in the Ken Palm rankings was actually before we played Houston, they were the highest rated team we had played, and they're ranked number 118 overall. And of course, Houston is still sitting here at number 6, even after the loss. So
The Houston game was big,
that was a
and
good win.
for sure. And obviously it doesn't make up for it, but kind of avenges the Elite Eight. Doesn't really avenge it at all, actually, but it gets a taste out of your mouth a little bit. It felt really good in the moment. And it's going to look really good on your resume going forward.
It just showed you that we can beat those teams of that caliber. You know,
Yeah.
Houston played for the title last year. Um,
And
and
Houston's the reason that we went out and got
Jalen Carey,
down Gary. Thank you. Um, he's awesome.
he's good. He's been a pleasant surprise. I didn't know what to expect out of him.
When he fits really well. And we finally got a lot of depth in the front court.
Hmm.
Lord willing, everybody stays
Got
healthy.
to keep poor Estrella, man. He just he cannot stay healthy. And it's like freaky things.
I mean, he's got that massive ass knee brace on his left leg, and I can't remember if it's the Houston or Kansas game. But he goes up for a rebound or to contest a shot, and there's a guy laying on the ground, and he steps on his foot and just, I mean, like rolls his ankle hard. Like I
Yeah,
mean, like ankle bone touched wood.
yeah. It makes me cringe just thinking about it. Like what I and he came back in, and you could tell he got
He was
came.
limping.
They came back. They got him retaped, and he looked okay. But he came back in and turned the ball over immediately, out in the middle, almost at half court, and they took it. You could just tell, like, dude, just go sit down. It's like
That was Kansas. That was
that's
Kansas.
Kansas game, yeah.
Yeah. The Kansas game, like you said, that would have been nice to have. Was I overly upset about it? No. I was more so upset with the fact that you're up 12 with what 14 minutes left, and then all of a sudden with 5 minutes left, you're playing from behind. I was a little irritated at that. I think I have an inkling that our boys didn't get the greatest night's sleep between the Houston and Kansas games,
Probably not.
um, which is fine. You know, like it'd be cool to be undefeated going into conference play or going into Syracuse, which Syracuse went 0 for 3 in Vegas. They might be struggling a little bit, but What was it? Was it Houston that they played, and they played them pretty decent, didn't they?
Who's that? I'm sorry.
Syracuse.
Yeah, yeah. Syracuse took him to overtime the night before Tennessee played Houston.
That's right. So they're gonna have to go up there and play good. So I don't know. I think overall Vegas was a success. I think that tournament format's stupid.
Yeah, it if they're not going to play bracket style, they've got Day Day made a good point. He's like they need to incorporate strength of opponents or something. They can't just go off a point differential. I mean,
Now
Tennessee
I
got
will
left.
say we wanted absolutely no part of Michigan.
I mean, Michigan hammered Gonzaga.
They hammered everybody.
I mean, they hammered
They
everybody.
played 3 games and they won them by a combined 100 points flat.
That's crazy.
They won by 40 in the first round, 30 in the second round, 40 in the championship game. That's absurd.
That's yeah. That's unbelievable.
And Gonzaga's good, or at least we
Yeah,
think they are.
Gonzaga's very good, I think.
Yeah. I mean, they got their damn doors blown off. Yeah, I wasn't too upset that we didn't get to play Michigan, which I don't think we'd have got beat by 40, but I obviously didn't think Gonzaga was going to either. So, yeah, I think overall is a success. I give us an A
Yeah.
minus. Yeah,
You have to with that Houston win.
yeah. I mean, you lose to Kansas, which Kansas wasn't at full strength. Their best player's still not playing. He's projected top 3 pick in the NBA draft. I forget his name.
Oh yeah, yeah, he's out. They were missing a few guys,
Yeah, so
but it is. It's
it'd have been
what do
nice
you?
to have, like we said, whether it be good or it be bad, don't overreact to November
It's
basketball.
what Josh Walker was texting me. I can't believe Barnes didn't call timeouts, and he just stood there and let it happen, and he was all tore up because they lost. And I was like, buddy, it's November. It's not March. Like it's okay. Like I don't like to lose. I hate losing. But you got to take it with a grain of salt here. It's your eighth game of the year with a bunch of new guys that haven't played a whole lot of basketball together, coming off of an emotional, physical, expended a lot of energy in that Houston game, and just 24 hours before that. So yeah, I know Kansas had a game before that, but they blew out Syracuse, so it was like not the same. So I don't. Yeah, I hated that we lost, but I'm not. You know, you can't go from being that high against Houston and thinking we're going to be top five team in the country to the world's ending after you lose to probably. I mean, they weren't ranked at the time. I'm sure they'll be ranked after that win back in the top 25 Kansas team. But Kansas has got a Hall of Fame coach with multiple national titles, so you can't ever count them out or take them for granted. So anyways, big few weeks coming up for the Vols. Some big games before we head into conference play. So, Harb, you got anything else? I'm tuckered out here.
I think we covered it. Loaded show. Um, Shout out to everybody that came to our tailgate at least once this football season. We may have not won every home game, but we damn sure didn't lose a tailgate. So if you're one of the if you're one of the ones that come all the time or just stop by once or so, thanks for thanks for being with us. And we're not 1,000% sure where we're going to be next year, but we look forward to having you there as well.
I thought this year's tailgates exceeded my expectations. The crowd that showed up, we had a lot of people. I know we've had big crowds for Georgia, Alabama in the past, but this seemed more consistent. A lot of people showing up every game.
Well, it's
Pretty
more central location.
right. Yeah. I mean, since we moved from C8, which I loved C8, but this is easy to get to. Like Harb mentioned, we don't know. For those that do attend, if I didn't tell you yesterday in my wanderings around or ramblings about whatever I was talking about or on a soapbox on yesterday, but We don't know what's going to happen with G10. For those that don't know, they're going to build that entertainment district, and it's supposedly going to take half of the garage. So we don't know if we'll be back in G10 and that half that's left next year, or where we'll be. So we'll probably won't know for a while. I would say sometime this winter or early spring they'll try to have info out to us. So we'll keep you guys posted as we head into next fall. But if it was our last time in G10, it was a great 2 year run again. I mean, we talked about it when we got moved over there a couple years ago. We didn't know what the future holds for that. So we'll see. But yeah, like Harb said, thanks everybody that came out. Shout out. Um, if you left your cooler in my truck, please contact me if you're listening, because I have a couple coolers. I think one of them I know who they are, but the other one I don't. So I'm gonna do some contacting probably tomorrow. But if you're missing anything, holler at me or Harb, and we'll get it back to you somehow, some way. But great tailgate yesterday. Glad to see everybody, and we'll do it again here in about 8 months. It's crazy. We were talking yesterday. It's like, man, this is the last one already. I felt like we just were talking about setting up for that ETSU game earlier in the season, and here we are. It's already over, and now what do we do? Yeah, we'll watch basketball, but
They go quicker every year.
that's not a lie. Harb, great to see you again. We'll do it again here soon. I don't know if we'll be back next week or not since the Vols don't play. We'll Harb and I will talk about it and see if we can find some stuff to talk about. Maybe come on for a few minutes next week, but if not, we'll be back here soon. Um, Holidays coming up, busy time of year, so we'll try to get some episodes in here before basketball gets going pretty soon. But Harb, go get rested up. Busy week. Good luck to you
Thank you.
in your endeavors this week.
You too. Hope you have a good week.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna need it. Busy week. We're starting basketball all over the city and the county, and it's that time of year. Basketball season. Love it.
I hope all of y'all have a good week as well.
Yeah, if you're listening, thanks for listening. We hope you have a great week. Weather's been crappy, cold, rainy. Hopefully the sun will come out a little bit this week. Supposed to rain some around East Tennessee, but wherever you're listening throughout the country, we hope you have a great week. Um, if you are listening to us, remember you can watch us on YouTube. You can see mine and Harb's beautiful faces. If you're watching us on YouTube and you want to listen to us while you exercise or drive or whatever you're doing, working on equipment, Brandon Watson is always listening to us on his bulldozer or whatever piece of heavy machinery he's using. Um, yeah, you can listen to us on Apple, Spotify. Just search the web. You'll find us, find a way to listen to us. So, Harb, I'm out. Great to see you again. If anything happens between now and the next time we record, we'll definitely break in as far as Tennessee football goes, or even basketball, or whatever's going on. So, um, again, appreciate everybody listening to us. I'm Nice. That's Harb. And we'll see you next time on the Section YY8 podcast.